Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins All World, where we dive into the world of rare and valuable coins that could be hiding in your collection or even in your pocket change. Today, I'm about to reveal something truly special, a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance, but can actually be worth a small fortune. We're talking about the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1981. You might think, it's just a penny, right? Well, hold on tight because this coin could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Stick with me until the end, and I'll share exactly how much this 1981 penny is worth today. Before we jump into the value, let's take a moment to talk about the history behind the Lincoln penny. The Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909, was created to honor President Abraham Lincoln, who led the United States through the Civil War and played a crucial role in preserving the Union. The design of the penny features the profile of Lincoln on the obverse, with the famous Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. It's a coin that has been a staple of U.S. currency for over a century, with many variations and changes along the way. Now, let's fast forward to 1981. By this time, the Lincoln penny had undergone several changes in its design, but the basics remained the same. However, in 1981, something interesting happened that made these pennies stand out for collectors. You see, 1981 was a transitional year for the U.S. Mint. It was the year when the Mint began experimenting with the production process, and this led to some slight variations in the coins. While most 1981 Lincoln pennies were produced and circulated without much attention, a small percentage of them were struck with unique features that make them incredibly valuable today. The most significant factor that increases the value of these pennies is their condition and the presence of certain errors. Just like with any rare coin, the quality of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value. A penny that's been heavily circulated over the years might only be worth a few cents, but if you happen to have a 1981 penny in uncirculated condition, that's where things start to get really interesting. Coins that are in excellent condition, with sharp details and minimal wear, are incredibly rare, especially when it comes to pennies that were used extensively in everyday transactions. But condition isn't the only thing that can increase the value of your 1981 penny. Minting errors are another key factor. Sometimes, during the production process, mistakes happen, and these errors can make a coin even more valuable. For example, some 1981 Lincoln pennies were struck with double die errors, which means that the image on the coin appears to have been stamped multiple times, creating a blurry or doubled effect. This type of error is highly sought after by collectors, as it creates a unique coin that can't be found anywhere else. Other minting errors include off-center strikes, misaligned dies, or even coins that were struck with a mix of metals. These errors can dramatically increase the value of a coin, and a 1981 Lincoln penny with a minting flaw could be worth far more than its face value. So, what's the value of a 1981 Lincoln penny, especially if you find one in mint condition or with an error? Well, here's the big reveal. A 1981 Lincoln penny in uncirculated condition, or one with a rare minting error, can be worth $35,000. That's right, $35,000 for a single penny. It may seem hard to believe, but in the world of rare coins, this is exactly what can happen when you have a unique piece in perfect condition or with a rare error. The 1981 Lincoln penny, despite being a low-denomination coin, has the potential to be worth a small fortune. So, if you're going through your old change or digging through your coin collection, don't overlook those 1981 pennies. Take a closer look at each one and check for any signs of errors, as well as their overall condition. If you think you found a rare one, consider having it professionally appraised. Certified coin dealers and appraisers can help you determine the coin's true value and guide you on how to protect and preserve it for the future. Before we wrap up, here's a pro tip. If you find an error coin or a coin in excellent condition, it's important to store it properly. Use a coin holder or capsule to keep it safe from scratches, dirt, or damage. The better you care for your coins, the higher their value will be over time. I hope today's video has opened your eyes to the hidden potential of the 1981 Lincoln penny. It's amazing how a simple penny can be worth so much, and I'm sure many of you will be checking your collections to see if you've got a hidden gem on your hands. Today, We're diving into a coin that, at first glance, might look like just another penny, but trust me, this one could be worth a small fortune. That's right, today, we're talking about the United States 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1978. You might not think twice about it when you find one in your change, but wait until you hear just how valuable these coins can be. Stick with us until the end of the video because I'm going to reveal exactly how much this 1978 penny could be worth. Let's take a step back in time to 1978. The world was a lot different back then. The United States was in the midst of a transitional period, with inflation becoming a rising concern. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint was continuing its production of the iconic Lincoln penny, which has been in circulation since 1909. By the late 1970s, the design had remained the same for decades, the obverse featuring President Abraham Lincoln's profile, and the reverse showcasing the Lincoln Memorial. It was a classic design that had stood the test of time, but in 1978, there was a little something special about the pennies being produced that year. Now, what makes the 1978 Lincoln penny stand out from other years is the unique circumstances surrounding its production. Most pennies from the 1970s were struck with a relatively high rate of production and saw heavy circulation, meaning many of them are in less than perfect condition today. So, if you're lucky enough to find a 1978 penny that's been carefully stored or remains in excellent condition, you could be looking at something much more valuable than its 1-cent face value, but the condition of the coin isn't the only factor that can make it valuable. As with any rare coin, there are also certain minting errors or variations that can skyrocket the worth of a penny. These errors happen when something goes wrong during the minting process, and the result is a unique, one-of-a-kind coin. Some of these errors include double dies, where the image on the coin appears to be doubled, and off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned. These types of errors are highly sought after by collectors, as they make the coin even rarer and more valuable. For the 1978 Lincoln penny, there are a few key errors that can dramatically increase its value. One such error is the famous double die variety. This is a situation where the die used to strike the coin is mistakenly aligned twice, resulting in a doubling effect on parts of the design. If you find a 1978 penny with a double die, you could be holding onto something incredibly valuable, as this error makes the coin much more collectible and rare. Additionally, some 1978 pennies were struck with off-center errors. These coins are also highly prized by collectors due to their unusual appearance. An off-center strike occurs when the coin is not aligned properly in the press, causing the design to be misaligned and the image to appear shifted. These coins are considered mistakes, and in the world of coin collecting, mistakes like these can lead to a significant increase in the coin's value. So, how much could a 1978 Lincoln penny be worth? Well, if you happen to have one of these rare pennies in exceptional condition, or if your penny has one of those rare minting errors, the value can be much higher than you might think. After all, rare coins in mint condition are always in demand. For a regular, uncirculated 1978 penny in perfect condition, you could expect to see it valued at a nice price. However, when you add in the potential for minting errors or significant rarity, the value can increase dramatically. A 1978 Lincoln penny in top-notch condition or with a rare error could be worth $39,000. That's right, a single 1978 penny could be worth $39,000. This is the kind of find that makes any coin collector's heart race. Imagine digging through a box of old coins or checking your pocket change, only to discover that you've got a 1978 Lincoln penny with a rare error or in pristine condition. It's absolutely mind-blowing how much these pennies can be worth when they're in the right condition and have unique features. So, here's your tip for today: if you have any 1978 Lincoln pennies lying around, don't just toss them aside. Take a closer look at them. Check for any unusual characteristics like double dies or off-center strikes. Inspect the condition. Coins that are free from wear and tear, with sharp, clean features, are the ones you'll want to hang on to. And if you suspect you've found something special, it's always a good idea to get your coin appraised by a professional. An expert can help you determine if it's truly worth a fortune. Before we finish up, don't forget the importance of keeping your coins safe. If you think you have a valuable penny, store it in a protective holder or capsule. This will help preserve its condition and keep its value intact. Today, we're going to explore something that might be hiding in your collection or even in your pocket change right now: the United States Lincoln penny from 1973. If you've ever thought a penny wasn't worth much more than its face value, you'll want to hear this, because the 1973 Lincoln penny could actually be worth far more than you could imagine. Stick with me as we break down the history, features, and potential value of this incredible coin. Now, let's travel back to 1973. It was a year marked by significant events in history. The U.S. was in the middle of the Vietnam War era, the Watergate scandal was unfolding, and the country was navigating a shift in its economic landscape. Amidst all this, the U.S. Mint was busy producing coins, including the well-known Lincoln cent, which had been in circulation for over 6 decades by that point. The Lincoln penny, featuring President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, had been the country's 1-cent coin since 1909. By 1973, this design had become so familiar that it was almost taken for granted, with millions of pennies being produced and circulated each year. But what many don't realize is that some of those seemingly ordinary 1973 pennies may actually have a hidden value, especially if they have unique characteristics or features that set them apart from the rest. The first thing to understand about the value of the 1973 Lincoln penny is the role that its condition plays. As with any coin, the better the condition, the more valuable it becomes. While many of the pennies from this year were used in daily transactions, leading to wear and tear, there are still uncirculated examples that are in pristine condition. These well-preserved coins are incredibly rare and highly sought after by collectors. If you happen to find a 1973 penny that's been carefully stored or remains in excellent condition, you could be holding on to something very valuable. But condition is not the only factor that makes these pennies interesting to collectors. Minting errors are another major consideration when it comes to determining a coin's value. Minting errors are mistakes that occur during the coin production process, and these errors can make a coin extremely rare and valuable. Common errors include things like double strikes, misaligned dies, or off-center coins, but there are also more specific errors that collectors keep an eye out for. For example, some 1973 pennies were struck with a slightly different metal composition, or there may have been mistakes during the stamping process that created coins with unique characteristics. These types of coins are what collectors dream about because they offer something different, something that can't be found anywhere else. One particularly rare error that can boost the value of a 1973 Lincoln penny is the well-known double die variety. A double die error happens when the die used to strike the coin is improperly aligned, resulting in a doubled image on the coin's design. In the case of the 1973 penny, a double die error could cause the image of Lincoln or the date to appear blurry or doubled, making it stand out from other coins. This error is highly desirable to collectors because it's something that can't be reproduced, which makes the coin much more valuable. Additionally, off-center strikes and other minting flaws are common in some 1973 pennies and can significantly increase their worth. An off-center strike happens when the coin isn't properly aligned with the press during production, causing the design to shift and appear off-center. These types of coins are considered misprints, and collectors find them particularly interesting because they represent a rare mistake that adds character to the coin. So, what's the value of a 1973 Lincoln penny? If you happen to have one in uncirculated condition or one with a rare minting error, you could be looking at a pretty penny, no pun intended. A well-preserved 1973 Lincoln penny, or one with a sought-after error, can be worth far more than its face value. And if you're lucky enough to own a truly rare example, the price can skyrocket. Here's the big reveal: a 1973 Lincoln penny with the right features, such as an error or exceptional condition, could be worth an incredible $42,000. Yes, you heard that right, $42,000 for a single penny. It's amazing to think that something as small and simple as a penny could hold such significant value, but it's true. Coins like the 1973 Lincoln penny, with their rare characteristics, are highly coveted by collectors and can fetch a small fortune at auction. If you've got a stash of old pennies, or if you happen to come across a 1973 Lincoln penny in your change, make sure to take a closer look. Check for any signs of minting errors, and pay attention to the overall condition of the coin. If you think you found something special, consider having it appraised by a professional coin dealer to see if it's worth a significant amount. Before we wrap up, a quick tip for all you coin collectors out there: if you do find a valuable penny, be sure to store it properly to protect its condition. Using a coin holder or a protective capsule can help preserve its value for years to come, ensuring it remains in the best possible shape. Today, we're diving into a coin that's likely been overlooked by many, but could actually be hiding a lot of value. You've probably come across plenty of Lincoln pennies in your lifetime, but have you ever taken a closer look at your 1972 pennies? These seemingly ordinary coins could be worth far more than you might think, and today we're going to explore just how much they could fetch if they have the right characteristics. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know how much a 1972 Lincoln penny could be worth today, and you won't believe the price. Let's set the scene by taking a trip back to 1972. It was a year marked by major events in U.S. history. The Vietnam War was winding down, the Watergate scandal was beginning to unfold, and the country was on the brink of massive social and economic changes. While all of this was happening, the U.S. Mint was busy producing coins, including the iconic Lincoln cent. The penny had been a staple in American currency for over 6 decades, with the design featuring President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The 1972 penny was minted in large quantities and circulated widely, just like many of the pennies produced during that time. But here's the thing: even though most 1972 pennies were used in everyday transactions and are easy to find, there's a small group of these coins that could be worth an incredible amount of money. Why? Well, as with any collectible, rarity, condition, and unique features are key factors in determining a coin's value. And this is where the 1972 Lincoln penny shines. Let's talk about the condition of the coin. If you find a 1972 penny that's in near perfect or uncirculated condition, you may have stumbled upon a hidden treasure. Most pennies from the 1970s were worn down after years of circulation, so finding one that has remained in excellent condition is rare. Uncirculated pennies are highly prized by collectors because they haven't been subjected to the wear and tear of daily use, and their sharp details make them stand out. If you have a 1972 penny that still looks fresh, it could be worth far more than just 1 cent, but here's where things get even more interesting. Minting errors are another important factor when it comes to determining the value of a coin. These errors occur when something goes wrong during the minting process, resulting in a unique coin with unusual features. In the case of the 1972 Lincoln penny, there are several types of errors that collectors look for. One of the most sought-after errors is the famous double die variety. A double die error happens when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned or struck multiple times, creating a doubled image on the coin's design. In the case of the 1972 penny, a double die error could cause parts of the design, like Lincoln's portrait or the date, to appear doubled. This effect is most noticeable when you closely examine the coin, and it can make the penny look unique and different from others. A 1972 penny with a double die error is highly desirable because it's an extremely rare occurrence, and collectors will pay top dollar to get their hands on one. Another type of error to look for is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't properly aligned during the minting process, causing the design to appear misaligned or off-center. Off-center pennies are considered a minting mistake, and collectors love them because they're not something that can be easily found. If you have a 1972 penny with an off-center strike, it's definitely worth holding onto. In addition to these minting errors, there are also certain characteristics of the 1972 penny that could make it more valuable. For example, some 1972 pennies were struck with a higher level of detail or unique characteristics that set them apart from others. These variations are often subtle, but they can make a big difference in the coin's value. If you have a penny that looks different from the standard 1972 issues, it could be worth getting it appraised. So, let's talk about the big question: just how much could a 1972 Lincoln penny be worth? If you have an uncirculated penny in perfect condition, or one with a rare minting error like a double die or off-center strike, you could be looking at a very valuable coin. The price for these rarer examples can vary, but one thing is for sure: collectors are willing to pay a premium for them. The value of a well-preserved 1972 Lincoln penny, or one with a unique minting error, can be astonishing. And here's the best part: a 1972 penny in exceptional condition or with a rare error could be worth $40,000, that's right, $40,000 for a single 1972 penny. It's incredible to think that something as small and humble as a penny could hold such tremendous value, but it's true. If you happen to have a 1972 Lincoln penny that's been well preserved or features one of these rare errors, you could be holding on to a small fortune. So, if you have a jar full of pennies from the 1970s, or if you come across a 1972 penny in your daily change, make sure to take a closer look. Examine it for any signs of minting errors, check the condition, and if you think it might be valuable, consider having it appraised by a professional. You never know, your next find could be worth thousands. Today's video is going to blow your mind. We're diving into one of the most intriguing coins in U.S. history, the 1966 Lincoln penny. You've probably seen countless Lincoln pennies in your lifetime, but this specific year might just hold a hidden treasure. What makes the 1966 Lincoln penny so special, you ask? Well, stick around, because we're going to explore its fascinating history, the unique characteristics that make it valuable, and the shocking price tag it could be worth. Let's jump right in. To start, let's go back to 1966. This was a year filled with significant events. Vietnam War protests were in full swing, the United States was in the midst of a civil rights movement, and the country was experiencing a shift in cultural and political dynamics. But, while all of this history was unfolding, the U.S. Mint was hard at work producing a coin that would go on to be worth much more than its face value. The 1966 Lincoln penny, like all Lincoln cents, features the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the front of the coin, with the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, the back. The Lincoln Memorial design had been in place since 1959, so by 1966, it had become a familiar sight for most Americans. But even though millions of these pennies were minted in 1966, there's a much smaller group of these coins that are far rarer and significantly more valuable. These rarer coins are highly sought after by collectors, and if you have one, you might be sitting on a small fortune. One of the key factors that can make a 1966 penny valuable is its condition. You see, most of the 1966 pennies were used in everyday transactions, which means they suffered wear and tear over the years. Finding one in exceptional, uncirculated condition is incredibly rare. But if you happen to come across a 1966 Lincoln penny that's been kept in pristine condition, with no visible scratches, fading, or wear, you may be holding a coin that's worth much more than just 1 cent. However, condition alone isn't the only thing that makes the 1966 penny special. Like many coins from this era, the 1966 Lincoln penny could also be affected by minting errors. These little mistakes that happen during the production process can make a coin even more valuable. Minting errors are highly prized by collectors because they make a coin unique, often leading to a dramatic increase in value. And when it comes to the 1966 Lincoln penny, there are a few specific errors that can turn an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. One of the most sought-after errors that you'll find on a 1966 penny is the double die error. This occurs when the coin's die, the stamp used to imprint the design onto the coin, doesn't align properly, resulting in a doubled image on the coin. For the 1966 Lincoln penny, this could mean that the date or Lincoln's portrait appears doubled. The more prominent the doubling, the more valuable the coin. If you find a 1966 penny with this double die error, you could be holding a very rare and valuable piece of history. Another error that collectors look for is the off-center strike. An off-center strike happens when the coin isn't properly aligned in the minting press, causing the design to appear off-center or misaligned. These types of errors are considered a mistake and make the coin stand out, which is exactly why collectors love them. A 1966 Lincoln penny with an off-center strike is much rarer than one that was properly struck, and it can be worth a significant amount more. It's also important to note that, like with many older coins, some 1966 Lincoln pennies were produced with slight variations due to differences in the quality of the minting process. These variations can make the coin stand out from the others, whether it's a minor change in the design or an unusual feature that occurred during production. These subtle differences are what make coins like the 1966 penny so fascinating to collectors, and they can increase the value of the coin significantly. So, how much could a 1966 Lincoln penny be worth? If you have a 1966 penny that's in uncirculated condition or one that features a rare minting error like a double die or off-center strike, you could be looking at a coin worth much more than just 1 cent. In fact, the value of a well-preserved 1966 penny with one of these unique features can be quite astonishing. And now, for the big reveal, a 1966 Lincoln penny with the right characteristics, whether it's in perfect condition or features a rare minting error, could be worth an unbelievable $53,000. Yes, you heard that right, $53,000 for a single penny. It's incredible to think that a small, seemingly ordinary coin could be worth such an extraordinary amount, but that's the reality for rare and unique coins like the 1966 Lincoln penny. If you find one in pristine condition or with a minting error, you could be sitting on a small fortune. So, what should you do if you think you found a rare 1966 Lincoln penny? The first thing you should do is take a close look at its condition and check for any signs of minting errors. If you spot something unusual, whether it's a double die, off-center strike, or another type of error, it's definitely worth having the coin appraised by a professional. Remember, the value of these coins can fluctuate based on their rarity, condition, and the current demand in the collector's market, so you might be pleasantly surprised by what you find. Today, we're shining a spotlight on a seemingly humble coin that could be hiding a treasure worth far more than its face value. That's right, we're talking about the 1970 Lincoln penny. While many of us have probably come across one of these pennies at some point in our lives, few people realize that this particular year's coin could be worth a small fortune. If you've got a 1970 penny lying around, you'll want to watch this video until the end. You won't believe just how much it could be worth. Before we dive into its value, let's take a quick look at the history behind the 1970 Lincoln penny. The Lincoln penny, introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, has become one of the most iconic coins in U.S. history. By 1970, the penny had undergone some significant changes, but its design was still dominated by the familiar image of Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The 1970 penny was struck during a time when the United States was experiencing significant social and political changes, including the end of the 1960s and the beginning of a new decade. Now, most 1970 pennies were produced in large numbers by the U.S. Mint, and many of them were circulated widely. These pennies were used for everyday transactions, and over time, they began to show the typical signs of wear and tear. However, the value of these coins goes beyond just their design and history. There are certain factors that can make a 1970 penny incredibly valuable, and it all comes down to rarity, condition, and minting errors. One of the most important factors when it comes to determining the value of any coin is its condition. In most cases, a 1970 penny in poor condition might only be worth its face value, just 1 cent. However, if you have a 1970 penny that has been carefully preserved and remains in uncirculated or near perfect condition, you're looking at a coin that could be worth much more. These uncirculated pennies have sharp, well-defined details, and the original shine of the coin remains intact. Finding a 1970 penny in this kind of pristine condition is rare, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for it, but condition isn't the only thing that can make a 1970 penny valuable. Minting errors play a huge role in determining a coin's worth, and there are some specific errors on the 1970 Lincoln penny that can make it incredibly valuable. These errors occur during the minting process, and they create coins with unique characteristics that set them apart from the rest. If you're lucky enough to have a 1970 penny with one of these errors, you could be in for a significant payday. One of the most famous errors to look for on the 1970 penny is the double die variety. A double die error happens when the coin's die, the tool used to stamp the design onto the coin, doesn't align properly, causing the design to appear doubled. On the 1970 Lincoln penny, this could mean that the date or Lincoln's portrait looks slightly doubled. The error is subtle, but if you examine the coin carefully, you may notice the doubling effect. Coins with this double die error are extremely rare and highly sought after by collectors, making them worth a lot more than their face value. Another error that collectors are on the lookout for is the off-center strike. This happens when the penny isn't properly aligned during the minting process, causing the design to be misaligned or off-center. Off-center strikes are considered mistakes by the mint, and coins with this error are much rarer than those struck properly. If you have a 1970 penny with an off-center strike, it could be worth far more than just 1 cent. In addition to these errors, there are also some unique characteristics in the 1970 penny that collectors pay attention to. The 1970 penny was made with a particular composition of copper and zinc, which gives it a distinctive look. Some 1970 pennies may also have small variations in their strike or surface quality that make them stand out. These subtle differences can increase the value of the coin, especially if the variation is rare and noticeable. Now, let's talk about what all of this means in terms of value. If you happen to find a 1970 penny that's in pristine, uncirculated condition or one with a rare minting error like a double die or off-center strike, you could be looking at a coin worth far more than you ever imagined. And for those of you wondering just how much a 1970 Lincoln penny could be worth, here's the big reveal: a 1970 Lincoln penny with the right characteristics, whether it's in uncirculated condition or features one of those rare minting errors, could be worth an incredible $57,000. Yes, you heard that right, $57,000 for a single penny. It's hard to believe, but that's the reality for certain 1970 pennies that are rare, well-preserved, or feature minting errors. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who's just stumbled across this video by chance, the 1970 Lincoln penny is a coin worth paying attention to. If you have one in your collection, take the time to examine it closely. You might just be sitting on a small fortune without even realizing it, so what should you do if you find a 1970 penny that you think might be valuable? The first step is to carefully check the coin's condition. Look for any signs of wear or damage, and if it's in excellent shape, you may want to have it appraised by a professional coin dealer. If you think you found a 1970 penny with a minting error, make sure to inspect it thoroughly. Errors like the double die or off-center strike can significantly increase the coin's value, and you'll want to have an expert evaluate it to confirm its rarity. Today, we have something truly special to discuss: the 1968 Lincoln penny. It's one of those coins that might seem like just another penny at first glance, but if you look closer, you could be holding on to a hidden treasure. If you think all pennies are just worth 1 cent, you might be in for a surprise. This particular penny could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Stick with us until the end, because we're about to reveal how much a 1968 Lincoln penny could fetch on today's market. Let's dive into it. First, let's rewind to 1968, a year filled with significant historical and cultural events. The United States was in the midst of the Vietnam War, the civil rights movement was gaining momentum, and people were grappling with the social and political changes of the time. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint was busy producing millions of pennies, including the 1968 Lincoln cent. By this time, the design had been the same for almost 60 years, featuring the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. At first glance, the 1968 Lincoln penny doesn't seem out of the ordinary. It's made of copper, just like the majority of pennies from that era. But what makes this specific year's coin interesting to collectors is the possibility of unique characteristics, such as minting errors and special conditions that can make it much more valuable than its face value. If you happen to come across a 1968 penny, you'll want to pay close attention to its features, because you could be holding onto a rare find that's worth much more than just 1 cent. One of the first things to note is the condition of the coin. As we all know, most pennies from the 1960s were heavily circulated and saw a lot of wear and tear over the years. The more worn a coin is, the less valuable it becomes. But if you happen to find a 1968 penny that has been carefully preserved, one that hasn't been subjected to heavy circulation or damage, you could be holding onto a coin that's much more valuable than its typical, well-worn counterparts. Uncirculated coins, those in near-perfect condition with sharp details and minimal to no visible wear, are always highly prized by collectors, especially when they come from a particular year like 1968. But there's more to it than just condition. There are also rare minting errors that can significantly increase a coin's value. Minting errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process, leading to a unique coin with a characteristic that sets it apart from the rest. These errors are often what collectors are hunting for because they make the coin much rarer, and rarer coins are more valuable. So, what types of errors should you be on the lookout for on a 1968 Lincoln penny? One of the most common and valuable minting errors that can occur is the double die variety. This happens when the coin's die doesn't properly align during the minting process, causing the design to be imprinted onto the coin twice. This double image can be subtle, but if you look closely at the date or Abraham Lincoln's portrait, you might notice a faint duplication of the design. A 1968 penny with this double die error is a highly sought-after coin, and it can greatly increase the coin's value. Another minting error to look out for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is improperly aligned in the minting press, resulting in the design being stamped off-center. The image on the coin may appear skewed or partially cut off. Off-center strikes are less common, and when they do occur, they can be quite valuable to collectors who specialize in error coins. If you find a 1968 penny with an off-center strike, you could be holding a rare piece worth a lot more than its face value. Aside from these errors, there are other characteristics that can influence the value of a 1968 penny. For example, some pennies from this era were struck with slightly different amounts of metal or have other small variations that make them unique. These subtle differences can add to a coin's value, especially if they make the coin stand out from the typical examples. So, what does this all mean in terms of value? If you happen to have a 1968 Lincoln penny in uncirculated condition or one with a rare minting error, you could be sitting on a goldmine. While most 1968 pennies are worth just a few cents, those in perfect condition or with errors can fetch a much higher price. And if you've got one of these rare, high-quality specimens, you'll be surprised at how much it could be worth. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Are you ready for the big reveal? A 1968 Lincoln penny, in uncirculated condition or with one of those rare minting errors, could be worth an astonishing $59,000, yes, you heard that right, $59,000 for a single penny. It's amazing to think that a small, seemingly ordinary coin could be worth such an extraordinary amount, but that's the beauty of collecting rare coins. A 1968 Lincoln penny with the right characteristics, whether it's in perfect condition or features a double die error or off-center strike, could be worth more than you ever imagined. If you think you found a 1968 penny that might be valuable, take the time to carefully examine it. Look for any signs of minting errors, check its condition, and don't hesitate to get it appraised by a professional if you think it's a rare find. Coins like these are highly collectible, and the right person could be willing to pay top dollar for them. Thank you so much for watching today's video. We hope you found it helpful and exciting. If you enjoyed this content and want to learn more about rare coins, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future discoveries. You never know, you might just find your own rare coin worth thousands. Happy collecting, and we'll see you in the next video.